Okay, great. That's my host duties done. Right. So welcome everyone to the WealthTech committee. It's great to see some familiar faces and names. But for our new joiners today, just a little bit of background on WealthTech committee. So we're one of 8 committees, formed under the FinTech Association of Hong Kong. And as our name suggests, we explore latest trends, developments in wealth management and technology. My name is Julie Chan, and I co-chair this committee with Neil Tan. I'm super excited for today's event. Not a day goes past now that we don't hear about Metaverse, NFTs, digital. So it's fitting in our WealthTech committee that we hold an event, where luxury meets the Metaverse. So, just before I hand over to my fellow co-chair Neil to introduce our panel, I'd just like to remind everyone to just post questions on the chat for Q&A. All right, over to you, Neil.
Great, thanks a lot, Julie. So so I think this is a really interesting lineup. I think if you look at a lot of the different events that have been going on, there's a lot of education inside of NFTs and also the Metaverse, Web3, and so forth. But what we wanted to do was look at it from inside of the context of WealthTech, inside of the context of different products, services, propositions, and really target the luxury segment, because I think especially inside of FinTech Association, a lot of asset managers, wealth managers, and so forth are looking for a little bit of a different angle to serving different clients and trying to see how they can leverage this type of technology inside of the context of building up relationships and so forth. We've got a really exciting lineup of speakers today. So we've got Gillian Howard from the Digital Art Fair. So, many of you have probably visited that over last year. Very, very successful event, and also looking at NFTs and so forth and digital art there. We also have Fang from Figment, which is both a real estate and also a country club metaverse platform. And then, of course, we've got Nick Lau, who runs Wear Digital, is essentially the combination of fashion and NFTs and Metaverse. So maybe the way that we're going to kick it off is just do some introductions. And if I can ask Gillian to kick it off and just kind of a little bit about yourself and also the Digital Art Fair, that'd be great.
Awesome. Thanks, Neil. Sorry, I did a bit noisy over here. Sorry I hope you can hear me well. Yes, I'm Gillian, so I'm the founder of Digital Art Fair, and we launched it last year in Hong Kong and in Central, and we were really one of the very first art company turns to a little bit more techy and incorporating blockchain and NFTs into one of our main strategy. I come from more background of fine art, so for me to be able to use the technology is actually quite I would say innovative for the art world, because if you all know, the traditional art was kind of very like to do certain things in certain ways. So it would be a dream of 5 years ago to explain to them that we can show the art collection online, or being able to communicate with a community online via different sort of community channels, they say, like Discord or WhatsApp or Telegram, etc. So we launched last year in Central in Hong Kong, and we were very surprised that the reaction from the market was really strong. We were working with Sotheby's and on launching some of the very first NFTs as available internationally through their auction platform. And the result was astonishing. We achieved it over, in total, the whole fair, we achieved over 70 million Hong Kong dollars in NFT sales. So it was our first year result, and we were really pleased with it. We are starting to see more brands, and besides in FinTech industry, a lot of fashion brands, advertising agency, etc., to want to jump into the world of NFT and Metaverse. So yeah, I'm really glad that we got to speak together with Neil, and thanks for your introduction, and Julie as well for organizing this. Yeah, I'm not going to take too much of your time, but I'm going to pass it back to Neil for other people's introduction. Thank you for having me.
All right, great. Thanks a lot, Gillian. How about Fang? You want to just do a quick introduction about yourself and also the platform?
Sure, yeah, happy to. Hi, everyone. I'm Fang. It's great to be here. I usually start by saying, you know, as global citizens, like many of us here are today, I wonder if you've ever kind of felt lonely in a new city or a new country. I think that most of the cities that we find ourselves in today, correct me if I'm wrong, tend to have these cookie cutter hotel, service apartment, kind of beige color schemes. You know, it's all pretty much the same. If you go downstairs, you get McDonald's, Starbucks, the same kind of franchise restaurants as well. And so it's really in that context that I started Figment. I started Figment as a response to the increasing sameness that we feel in our cities. For me personally, I grew up in a heritage shop house in Singapore. So representing Singapore on this panel today. And yeah, it was a great experience growing up with a strong sense of community spirit, or what we call in Singapore kampong spirit, kampong being a village. And yeah, you get that connection to the neighborhood, corner stores, provision shops, different styles, right? And so kind of that feeling of growing up and understanding a place, it's almost as if I want to recreate that now for people that are living with us or want to be a part of the community that we're building. Singapore over the years, unfortunately, has replaced a lot of these shop houses with white and gray kind of glass and steel skyscrapers, right? Every CBD you go to today kind of seems a little bit like that. And many of us here also came from finance, and so we kind of work in a situation like that every day. And I think that's not the only way. I think we can revert to a more creative sense of our environment. You know, Figment believes a lot in creative placemaking, right? Refreshing, reforming our environments with a sense of place, a sense of personality, a sense of vibrancy, to connect with where we are. And so we partner up a lot with creatives, with builders, with thought leaders, especially from the Web3 space, to get that to happen. Ultimately, Figment is trying to build a digital, so that is a physical and digital space. We'll be using a lot of that word here today, I think. A digital members club, right, that spans, yes, the metaverse with our virtual country club, but also the physical realm with our physical embassy houses. And I think I'll show more of that during the conversation. I won't dig into it right away, but suffice to say, as all of us global citizens here, I think we can start to see like there are spaces in the world where we can actually belong, and we can belong everywhere. Anytime or anywhere you have an internet connection, log on, get onto the metaverse map, you're now with a like-minded group of people, and that is the future that we can kind of embrace. Yeah, and back to you, Neil.
Great, thanks a lot. Nick, maybe you can just give a little bit of an introduction about yourself and also the platform.
So, hi everyone. I'm the founder of Where, and to give you a bit of a background, how we started the company. I graduated from Parsons, so I was studying kind of the traditional fashion design major, and during my time in New York and in Parsons, I was fascinated by technology. I was fascinated by how can we make sort of how can brands position themselves with technology, and how can we make shoppers shop a little bit better. So with that, it was COVID, and I kind of came back to Hong Kong and kickstarted this idea with XRC Labs, a VC fund in New York. So that's how sort of we got started. And essentially, Where is a Web3 platform focusing on collaborating and partnering with luxury brands and artists to launch individual collections and projects. And essentially, we're trying to help brands get into the metaverse in a meaningful way. We've seen a lot of empty projects, a lot of brands just getting into it just for the sake of it. So we've been developing a lot of utilities, microverses, and stuff like that to really enhance these digital assets. And one of the main things, just like what Fang mentioned, was the idea of Phygital, right? And I think it works very well in terms of, really, not exposing, but really attracting and connecting with the new generation of digital consumers through these kind of more exclusive collections and products and experiences. So everything that we do is tied into the physical aspect, whether it's a product or an experience. Yeah, that's
great. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, when you're doing those demos, I saw it before. It was pretty cool. So, yeah, so I think maybe we can try to kick it off. I mean, how, if we go to Gillian and we talk about the metaverses, how is DAFA really kind of shaping the NFT market as well as the metaverse, in the context of where you're playing and how you're playing inside of that space?
Thank you, Neil. I think the metaverse is something that is getting a lot of attention from different industry, and of course, that's where we put digital art fair. We put a lot of emphasis on how do we engage with it, because we do have a very strong community of including art and tech community supporting us, and we want to be one of the very first company to be able to set an example and how this can be utilized in a way that benefits everyone. And obviously our most important aspect on this and our goal on this is to be able to bring people closer to art and culture. And so for us, our strategy of Metaverse started last year when we decided to bring exhibition into a virtual space. So we used VR goggles, and we used our online virtual reality platform to display the art. And this year we're going to take it to the next level, because as you all know, the technology just changed so quickly. Every 6 months, 3 months, something new came up, and then we were just trying to catch it. I'm sure you all can resonate in a way that like how fast the blockchain, the FinTech industry is growing. And we're, of course, very, very closely working with a lot of these brands. Some of them, I'm sure you guys know, Sandbox, and Meta, and a lot of different blockchain technology platforms that being able to assist us to bring the artwork and what we want to do into their platform. So we really at DAFA, our goal is to not only connect with the brands and our artists, our galleries, and learning everything that you guys are doing in different platforms, different companies, and how can we utilize that and bring that onto digital art fair and showcase to the general public, the more consumer base and art collectors at the end. So yeah, our goal again is very clearly bringing art and culture closer to everyone, and work closely with different platforms, different providers. In the metaverse, we like to, when we do digital art fair, a few things that we really emphasize is the art experience. So it depends on like what technology you guys as a lot of business owner and platform developers and brands who are engaging with us to drive the force, and we are here as a platform to just kind of tie it all together and bring in a good experience to the general public, and having a place for you guys to explain it, to display it, and to promote it.
Great. So Fang, how's Figment changing up inside of the metaverse? I mean, how are you shaping inside of the metaverse or the development of the metaverse?
We're having a lot of fun with NFTs. And I think that's what attracts us all to a conversation like this, right? I mean, we can all see the potential. I personally think NFTs are the building blocks for what is, a persistent kind of open metaverse in the future. We might not have it right in front of us now, but there are things that we can experiment with, and Figment is, of course, experimenting with right now. We want to be kind of at the forefront of this adoption of this technology. Let me elaborate. So NFTs, essentially, because they are digital certificate of ownership, you can transfer property rights with them. We call them citizenships because it's a country club, and so we play around with the term citizenship a lot. but it's basically a membership, right? A membership in the form of an NFT that is transferable, that comes with ownership and governance rights. You can actually vote with these NFTs on the blockchain in a very frictionless way. In many members clubs you see out there, and with the high net worth kind of population of the private banking sector, you might have Soho House as one good example of a very famous kind of members club. But the thing is, Soho House, not only is it owned 60% by a US billionaire that has 10-to-1 super voting shares that can essentially decide the future and the expansion of Soho House. It's also almost as if you're Hello?
Lost you for a second, but now you're back. It's okay.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's almost as if, let me know if I get interrupted.
Sure.
It's almost as if we are, you're renting a membership from one of these clubs. You pay them a subscription, you become a member for 6 months to a year, and when that's done, it's done. But no, with us, you own this citizenship NFT, this membership NFT. It goes with you. You might not be using it, but of course you can resell it on an open market, on OpenSea and so on. And so it becomes almost like you're provably unique because there's only one of it, identification that you take with you. Since you can buy it on an open market, it's almost as if you're buying a golden passport, right? You buy a golden passport to Portugal, you buy a golden passport to Greece. You can buy one of our citizenships to what we call Figment Cloud Country on an open marketplace. And so sure, we're still in early days, but that is the hope, that is the ambition as we go ahead. And ultimately, I think, we see this metaversal country club as a place that is accessible anytime and anywhere. So once again, I said, with the internet connection, you can connect. You don't have to be in Hong Kong, you don't have to be in Singapore, you could be somewhere else, Bali and so on. And not just that, you get different time zones over the same day. When have you ever had such a vibrant community, 24/7, people coming in any point in time? You can meet people, you can talk to other people, they might be in a different country from you. And so that's the exciting potential of what we are trying to do in the metaverse. And so, yeah, we're hopeful. We're still in very early days. I think this is a great opportunity for people to start learning about how they can shape the metaverse and, open eyes and looking ahead to see what we can do.
Thanks. Nick, when you take a look at sort of like the products and propositions that you're offering, I mean, what's unique about it in terms of versus some of the other traditional venues and areas of service, specifically inside of luxury? So yeah.
Well, essentially, we're an end-to-end kind of solution where we cover everything from the creation to the distribution, and very similar to Figment. We're also creating this kind of well, as you say, a membership NFT that grants you access into I don't know, the world of these luxury brands. And essentially, I think one of the main things that we're also developing in terms of the metaverse space is what we call microverse. We actually call that a warehouse. And basically, this is a space, a curated kind of retail space for brands to participate in the metaverse. And a lot of the brands that we work with, the artists that we work with, are essentially emerging brands, and they might getting into the metaverse or getting into Decentraland might be a little bit far-fetched. So developing these more curated experiences, these more tailored experiences, is definitely that we're also focusing on. And the thing about our projects, our NFTs, is that every single one of them is slightly different, right? It has its own roadmap, it has its own utilities. So to give you a couple of examples, we're working with a bunch of we're working with this luxury eyewear label that basically we created a bunch of NFTs, and we bring a trading card kind of scarcity model. And the rarest editions, if you mint the rarest editions, you'll actually get a physical pair of these glasses. So not only can you wear them in real life, you can also wear them on your digital avatar, on Decentraland or Sandbox or whatever. So I think it's that kind of interaction. It's a new way for brands to storytell, to engage their existing and new audiences, and potentially a new revenue stream as well. So we're also quite early. We have a bunch of brands that we're working with this year, but we're hoping to kind of further develop our marketplace and our microverse.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, it's some of the other examples like you mentioned before is super interesting. Yeah, I think if we go to Gillian, if we kind of look at it inside of the luxury segment, and also inside of even when we talk about wealth management and banking and private banking and so forth, everyone is really looking at those specific experiences, right? How do we offer our clients very unique experiences that they can, whether it's taking a photo of it and posting it on social media, or whether they can share it with friends over, afternoon tea or something along those lines. How is DAFA actually working on this experiential piece of the platform?
So one of the very interesting points that you pointed out is, yes, the luxuries segment, and it's getting a lot of attention in the metaverse and through work and my relationship, my network, and I realized that as well. So I guess maybe I can give you a few examples of what has been in the NFT and metaverse sector going on, and then we can dive into what we do in the metaverse sector. So for example, lately there were several museums. You wouldn't have thought that museum would be interested in diving into the metaverse and NFT, but indeed there were some really traditional museum now starting looking at NFTs, and also fashion brands. Recently there's like Louis Vuitton, I'm sure everybody knows about it, and there are some really traditional fashion brands that like to dive into metaverse and NFTs. We are very lucky enough to be consulting some of them and working very closely with them at Digital Art Fair this year. Through metaverse, I think there is a few things that we can do in the space, and don't forget that this is particularly most of the time is from younger 20-something, 30-something consumers who would be very interested to see what is possible by there being collecting an NFT there, or going to an exhibition there, or going to a concert there inside the metaverse. That's what the new generation like to do and engaging. So for example, one of the things that we have been developing in Digital Art Fair is to being able to take anyone into a art fair, or being able to take them to be performance. So for example, we're now looking into working with a performance agency and performance group that, for example, ballet or orchestra and music concert in the metaverse space during Digital Art Fair. So visitors can, if you are not in Hong Kong, unfortunately, right now the restriction especially is very difficult for them to engage with the physical event. But with the metaverse, now we can go into a concert with us. We can see a ballet show together with each other, and you can even high-five each other with a VR goggle, and then say whatever and give message and have your avatar and show your NFT or collection. So yeah, we're really diving into a space that is not something that we could think of 5 years ago. And now it's getting even more and more, I guess, is kind of easier to attend, like what we're doing right now with the Zoom. We wouldn't have thought of that 5 years ago. We can be doing Zoom, and now it's just so normal for everyone to say, hey, go on Zoom and talk. But believe me, I think in 5 years' time, you will be able to 3D scan yourself, and you're in the not physical but virtual metaverse party. Probably Neil and I can be high-fiving each other and say, let's go do a talk, and you have a scanning of your whole body, and you can see me right there in front of you. And I tested the technology myself. Is really getting there, and I think the new generation is going to speak a language that we are not speaking at the moment, and we're just diving into that space. And so I'm looking forward to be showing you digital art fair, the immersive room. Somehow maybe next year we will be VR goggle and in digital art fair, and we're in the immersive room, and the experience is going to be one of a kind. If you have ever experienced that VR goggle, then you might be able to understand what I'm talking about. I think the metaverse is very exciting in the sense of right now we are still going into the website, where you go into the website, you click, but in the future is really getting the three-dimensional 360 experience.
Totally agree. I mean, it's supposed to be ultimately immersive, right? So all the AR, VR, all those different things. You bring up actually a really good point. I mean, you're talking about millennials, you're talking about a younger generation. If we go to Nick and we talk about how do we make luxury accessible, how do we make it more inclusive to that younger generation, and having a lot more engagement out of those folks, how are you approaching that particular market?
Yeah, this is a very good question, because I think when a lot of brands, when they come to us, and trust me, it's really a range of brands, not just luxury fashion, but lifestyle, beauty. They're all looking to basically capitalize on entertainment to build brand equity and basically connect with this new generation. And essentially how we're approaching it is having coming from a Gen Z background, and where they stand, and how they would like to kind of interact with these more traditional brands. So for example, we're working with a traditional cigar brand, and basically they're one of the things that they asked us was, right, how do we kind of not just focus on our current customers, but attract and appeal to these younger audiences, not necessarily to promote smoking, but to kind of introduce them and educate them in the world of Cuban cigars. So we're basically incorporating a lot of different artists, creatives, to tie all this kind of tie the brand in together. So I think a lot of it is coming from community. So we're working with a lot of community managers, a lot of Discord managers. I think this is definitely a very big thing within the crypto community, and the NFT space, to really trying to reimagine this, how we would appeal to this younger audience. And phygital is also something that I think at least people, our customers and our buyers like. The idea that you can get these more exclusive products, and even with the digital asset that comes with the physical item, you get utilities from that as well. So yeah, so I guess it's also that sort of scarcity and exclusivity.
Cool, very cool. Fang, so can the younger generation get a membership at the country club, or is it accessible for those folks?
Well, great question, because the younger generation, we see a lot of wealth creation with the crypto space, right? And we're talking like multi-millionaires, teenage millionaires, and so on. And so I think for sure, I don't think they'll be so keen on the old boys kind of country club, colonial clubs that we have in Singapore and Hong Kong. I think we need something different. I think we need something modern. I think even I'd say the more distinguished older generation is still looking at this space. My dad and my uncles, they ask me about what is the metaverse, and I want to create my own metaverse. And it's very, very, it's great that there's this engagement coming from all parts of all different generations. Ultimately, I think the experiences that we want to hold in the metaverse allows for us to also curate the kind of people that will come on. We've done, of course, some very traditional things like cocktail mixing sessions with bartenders. We've had digital yoga or mudra nourishing sessions as well. Virtual co-working is a thing. where you are facilitated in a group and you bring work to work on for a sprint of say 50 minutes with a moderator that will lead you in stretches before and after the session. And so there are many ways, and there are many ways to think about activities that can be on the more inclusive side for people. Ultimately, I think it's not so much the age group that we think about, it's more of just the values that are held by the people that we are trying to cater to. I think we love global values, right? I think what we have here is an innovation that's able to unite people from across the globe to increase global coordination and apply it towards certain things like, the global refugee crisis that we might be facing right now, or even gender equity, say. And so I think oftentimes we are stopped by this sense of nationality or tribalism, being from where we are. I'm Singaporean, are you Hong Konger? It's kind of like that. And I think it's really taking the broader view of things. And this also applies to blockchains, right? We hear the term Bitcoin maximalists, people who've made millions on Bitcoin. We've heard the term Ethereum maximalists, people who've done the same with Ethereum. And now I'm hearing it about Solana. And think about these blockchains as nations, and think about how these nations and their tribes and people who believe so much in them, how are we going to manifest that into the world? Let's not even talk about actual nations in the world. Let's talk about blockchains as nations. And I think going on that tangent, really, we will see a lot of manifestation of what Gen Z culture, of what crypto culture can be in our physical world. And that'll be quite exciting to see the reverse happening as opposed to physical going virtual.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I mean, there's going to start being demographic or cultural or specific metaverses that are going to be demarcated by this technology, right? So very cool. So Gillian, if you're looking at DAFA, maybe you can talk a little bit about sort of like your future development plans. What sort of expansion plans do you have inside of the platform, and what are you looking to broaden in terms of product, services, all these other stuff?
Sure. And I just want to add on a little bit before I jump into what is our plan. I just want to add on a little bit more on what Fang was saying, that I completely agree. But I think for the Gen Z and the new generation, what we learn is from digital art fair for sure is that our traditional art fair, you would I guess a traditional art fair can represent kind of like a traditional group of art investor or art lovers. And it's very interesting to see the demographic that was digital art fair last year. Was over 55% was under 40 years old. Over 55% is a very big percentage for a luxury sector. I mean, I consider digital art fair as a luxury sector because we don't sell anything under 1 Ethereum, right? So 1 Ethereum is about 25,000 Hong Kong dollars at the moment. It's quite a luxurious item. And also you were considering buying a digital asset, so it's not physical, is something that is untangible. You can't really see it, but it's there. It's like gems, right? Like you can't see it, it's there, but it's there, right? So it's very interesting to see that how the new generation of luxury buyers buying into, they're interested in art experience. So that's what I mentioned earlier about metaverse. Their experience that you experience can't be seen, but it's interesting. It's one of a kind. Is you can't probably take it with you in your pocket, but it's experience that you have in only you would know, and the people who experience it would know. And I think that's tied into a lot into the community that in the new generation of luxury is the community is tight. But at the same time, what is community? Community is the brand image that you created for yourself. It's a brand image that you spend lots of time and going on the social media to posting what you do and on your website and you're sharing. So at the end of the day, it doesn't change the essence of how luxury is meaning. Is it luxury's brand? What it is meaning, right? What is meaning you give into your brand? And the Metaverse 3.0 Web3 version of it is you got to be talking to the new generation in a language that they understand. And that means that will be in the metaverse. Maybe that's on Telegram. Maybe that is through a video game, a GameFi, or sort of collecting the NFT. So by that means that this is the way that we see how the Web3 is going forward. So just to add on a little bit that I didn't mention when Neil was asking me. So based on what we learned from Digital Art Fair and the new generation of Gen Z or many of the Gen going on, in Digital Art Fair this year, as I mentioned, we want to focus more on the experience. Experience in a way that sometimes you can't take it away. You can't put it in a pocket and bring it home. And the NFT section is you will be able to display at your home with a digital art frame, perhaps. Some of them you can't, like an immersive art room, you can probably only see it for VR. But then also so that will be something that like hardware wise and the curation wise, what we do. And we're working with a lot of brands, as mentioned, to bring the new generation of Web3 features into the art fair physically, because we are a physical fair that brings in a lot of this art and technology, and appealing to the new generation of luxury sectors because they are interested in this experience and digital assets and cryptocurrency, etc. And for us, the expansion plan is it will be quite interesting to share this because when I first started Digital Art Fair, I came back from London for a few years and I was in Hong Kong, and I was particularly interested in seeing that there's a very strong community, FinTech community and crypto NFT community in Hong Kong that was very underrepresented and not really talked about, very secrecy, because I believe in the US and in Europe, it's very out there. In the US, especially in Silicon Valley and everyone around the West Coast and East Coast, they're very vocal about it. In Hong Kong, somehow it's a little bit underrepresented. And last couple of years, and me engage more with the community in here, internationally crypto network, I can see that in Hong Kong is obviously getting a lot of momentum and a lot of attention on the NFT side with the Digital Art Fair development as well. We believe that it is sort of a very tight community. Go back to what I mentioned is the community effect that making it interesting, and for that, meaning that our plan is to bring our Asian network, be our artists, be our brands and platform like Neo, like Neptune Digital to the international level. So bringing the Asia network of a group of art collectors and artists and brands, and now we did it the other way around, because when I first started Digital Art Fair, it was bringing technology that I learned from London or from Europe to Asia, and then we kind of make our name of it. But now I'm actually in Paris right now. That's why I was so inspired to talk about it. Is in Europe, the brands and the collectors are so interested to see what do you have in Asia that you can bring it back to Europe. So our plan in 2022 is to bring our network and kind of create the international effect around the Asian community and bring the brand awareness to expand through our network to make sure those are tied together, and we build a healthy ecosystem in between the blockchain, NFT, and art tech segment. So that's all, Neil.
Cool, great, thanks. So Nick, as far as I know you guys are relatively early stages and so forth, but as far as expansion plans, what are you looking at for growth? Of course, all the different brands that you represent and whatever geographies that you're going into. Can you share a little bit about what you have in store for the next 12 months?
Yeah. So as you said, we're still, in this very early stage where, we're basically, trying to explore a lot of new opportunities and really look at NFTs and look at NFTs in a new way, in a more sort of innovative direction. So to give you a quick example, we worked with this virtual influencer called Monok, and they had an art piece that was going to be auctioned off on Philips. So Philips, the auction site. And this NFT that we worked on was a data data generative sort of art piece. So, with the bids, with all the clicks, with all the data, it actually changes over time. So, I think, and that's something that we bring to all our projects. It's that sort of that new way, to engage with the audience and not just, create a collection of, 5,000, uniquely generated NFTs, but really, further enhancing, the experience and the artwork itself as well. So we're also developing, a microverse, as I mentioned, that's web deployed. So, that would really, that would be more sort of web focused, working with the brands to curate this kind of space. And so, yeah, definitely just looking on, in terms of the brands that we're working with, trying to, really enhance experience and develop NFTs or digital assets that are, not just, profile pictures, but something much more than that.
Cool, great. Thanks a lot, Nick. Just a thing to the audience, feel free to drop any questions inside of the chat, and we'll run through some of those questions after a little bit of a further session on the panel. Down to Fang, I know you have a whole bunch of different locations that you're looking at to expand the country club. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah,
Fang,
it's in our name. We're a country club. We're not your grandfather's country club. We want to do fun stuff. We want to be everywhere. We want you to belong everywhere, right? So think about it. Global citizens exist in the same 8 to 10 cities around the world. We're talking Singapore, Hong Kong, New York, SF, London, Paris, so on and so forth. You can see, Gillian's now moving from Hong Kong to Paris, right? So in a way, we want to be in these cities as well. We want to be in these cities physically. Figment's origin was as a boutique hospitality company. We do these fantastic heritage homes, shop houses in Singapore, designed with different architects, designers, interior designers, and artists. And so we can take some of that culture, we can elevate local culture abroad, say Hong Kong, and we're looking to also, I guess, look for citizens coming from these countries that can then belong to what we're trying to build as a global community. We found that it's caught on quite a bit with the ultra high net worth segment, or the high net worth segment, the retail segment. Magazines like Tetla and Prestige have featured us, and we are exploring collaborations within our space with some of these media companies as well. And yeah, I think we are big on fine art. I spent some time at Christie's, and so I'm big on trying to portray different manifestations of NFTs. And actually, our curator is also here on this call, Jen Quinn. She's manifested digital NFTs on bamboo, on aluminum, on different materials, on rice paper, different types of NFTs. Also, we're talking asynchronous art. We're talking generative art. So there are all these terms being bandied around. I don't even know 100% what they mean, but like they look really cool. And so I think that's kind of the direction that we can go into, and yeah, whatever happens, it will be very exciting. And I hope I will see many of you here join us on that journey as well.
Great, good stuff. Yeah. So we've got actually our first question coming from Dirk. He says, we are still in an experiential environment which is evolving fast, but have still to handle with technical issues. Interoperability between metaverses and spaces is important. Standardizations in regulations and mass adoption might be a main goal. How do you think we will reach that? Fang, do you want to take that? I mean,
sure, man. Yeah. So look, I said we are early. Every single one of you here, by being here in this chat, in this conversation, you are early. And so I see us as the early adopters of this wave. Okay, you might be Web3 native, or you might be Web3 curious, but we are only like 5-10 years into this thing. There's a lot more to go. Dirk, what you're saying, mass adoption, I think that takes place after us, the group of us, the early adopters, get used to the technology. the early majority, right, the greater bunch of people that we see in our urban areas, I think they catch on after they see proper use cases. Today, we are starting to see these proper use cases. 5 years ago in 2017, 2018, 2019, it was still a bit like, I don't know if I want to build a career in the Web3 crypto space yet, right? So, but I think now we can all see potential. We are all actually building something of worth. And yeah, I think it's a phase, but let's just focus more on the early adopter group, and then with that, cross what they call the chasm to the early majority.
Cool, great. I don't know if Gillian or Nick, you have anything to add on that as far as how do we kind of bridge that tech piece?
Like you want to go ahead? I am not. Yes, please.
No, I completely agree with what Fang said. I think we're even. I think the tech to a certain extent is still quite early. We're all very early. Everyone has their own definition of what the metaverse is. So my definition is actually relatively simple. Like it's really just from 2D into 3D. So I guess there has to be some sort of well, let's say the VR glasses or the AR goggles to really create this sort of mass adoption. Then people start getting into it. Also, one of the reasons why we're developing a microverse instead of a metaverse, or going into the metaverse is it's a bit lower in terms of barrier of entry. It's easier to go into, it's easier to use. So I guess there are still some barriers that it's still pretty early. I completely agree with what Fang said.
Cool. So we got another question from Frankie. He says, how do you see in the near future the wealth management services include these new digital assets as part of the offering? So from a wealth management service perspective, it's kind of like what we had in the pre-call, when we were talking about it, Fang. So I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, I love this question, right? Because look, I come from I wasn't in a private bank. I was in the investment banking side of things at Goldman Sachs in the APAC region, structuring derivatives for ultra high net worth clients. And sure, look, people are talking about Bitcoin now as the new digital gold. It's really solidifying its status as part of that kind of overall portfolio mix. I think Goldman released a research piece about how your asset portfolio kind of distribution can now be going forward. I think institutions take it a lot more seriously. You see crypto desks emerging on every investment bank on the street. I think it will trail down because, as private bankers, you get your clients that are calling you because they're shopping across different private banks, and they ask you, hey, what can you tell me about this particular product? And so you will need to catch up with the market if you haven't already kind of done some of these offerings. I guess it's limited by the regulatory side of things, and that depends on your jurisdiction. And there's a lot of, I think that might take more time, but I think on the side, it's good to be aware about how you can kind of tell that narrative. And it could be something clear of those financial regulations like NFTs. You can see, we've spoken about different kind of NFTs. These are products, these are not securities. And so I think, it's a much more clear area, the kind of sandbox I'm playing in. But yeah, I do think blockchain technology has tons to offer when we talk about wealth management, kind of middle office, back office as well. I think it's just a lot more decentralized, inclusive way for different private banks, different wealth managers to communicate, and even for individual wealth managers to bring their client list from bank to bank. If and when that happens, I think it's interesting to think about what if that actually sat with you instead of more broadly like the institutions.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like what we were talking about before. I mean, theoretically Figment or Figment could actually do a white label for HSBC for their premier members, right? I mean, who would want to go into a branch then versus a country club, right? So
yeah, Neil got it.
there.
Yeah, this is exactly what I have in mind, like City Gold, HSBC Premier, these are institutions with a large retail offering that's super curious about what we're doing now. And as I said, NFTs sit on the positive side of that kind of regulation. And we are talking with different institutions for offering this to their higher net worth kind of clientele. And so this is something that we're exploring all the time. And, insofar as we have people from different private banks here, I'm more than happy to kind of explore that situation also with the understanding of how private banks might actually work.
Right. Gillian, Nick, you guys have anything to add on that?
Yes. I really love this question because I'm not from investment banking or anything, but I work with a lot of art collectors and brands, and if you understand from art collectors' perspective, they obviously most of the big collector they have acquired the wealth and they differentiate it. They have the house, they have the cars, and we say NFT and art are usually an alternative investment. And it's taken a lot of thoughts and to invest in art, and especially NFT coming up and coming. I've been working a lot of big art collectors to acquire NFT art for them. So digital assets is very interesting to look at it this way. So to give you an understanding of it, right? Traditional art obviously is being considered as alternative art investment. In Paris, just because I'm here right now, in Paris or in France, a traditional piece of art being traded would take 7% of tax in France. But when you trade an NFT, is considered as a digital asset instead of traditional art. And the tax obviously is a bit higher because the digital asset is not a traditional piece of art. So I like the French way of thinking because they obviously think about it, obviously, like how often is it going to be traded? Is it going to be valuable? Is it something that is taxable? Should we tax them? In that sense that we can see that like in Europe, we consider NFT as a serious investment because you will see that in the US, the infrastructure is so much more solid that you can actually use your crypto or your NFT as collateral in buying houses, getting a mortgage, getting a loan. I mean, there's obviously companies that that's already been doing it. And I guess coming back to A-share is also considered is a sort of like alternative investment in the wealth management side. But we do definitely see that as founders say that like, Goldman Sachs released an NFT report, Visa and MasterCard released an NFT report, Morgan Stanley released an NFT report, and all of them are really buying into it. And I'm from my practice on the ground and working with art collectors like directly and helping them acquire NFTs and digital art, and definitely seeing the crypto side is getting stronger and stronger, and the wealth management point of view is now NFT definitely getting there as a asset, as a good investment, not good investment, otherwise it'd be subjected to when they sell it. But
Right.
I understand, as an art dealer, I'm seeing more and more coming in. It's not just an individual, it's also institutions that I'm working with as well to helping them to acquire digital art. I know that there are a trust company that actually takes NFT as one of the collaterals and investment as well. So seeing that moving that angle, definitely something that's very exciting for the market.
Right. Nick, you have any other things to add to that as far as wealth management services are concerned?
Yeah, no. I think, in terms of the asset part, I think it definitely resonates more with, what Gillian was talking about, these artworks as, assets. What we are doing is slightly different, because we're not, single editions, or we're not, we're treating it more of a mass kind of, a collection approach. So yeah, I do think, if you look at artifacts, if you look at, these other kind of platforms, people treat it like assets, and they trade it, they invest into it. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I totally see where it could play. I mean, one of the most how do you say it, wealth management service inside of Hong Kong is the rugby sevens. All the VIPs, all the tickets could be NFT'd. You could probably throw an NFT on each one of the shirts that they give out at all the different banks, and you can probably have people play rugby in the virtual metaverse, right? Inside of the context of that. But I see a lot of different applications for you guys. One last question, and that comes from Stephen Lee, talking about custodizing these different assets. On private banks need an ISIN number. So that's an individual securities ID number. You know, just in case you weren't up on that. How will these offerings be custodized in this standard platform? So, you know, inside of the context of your own platforms, how are you custodizing these different assets? Maybe Gillian?
Oh, sorry, I have an alarm coming up here.
Okay.
Maybe you want to circle back to me after
I'll
this
circle
alarm?
back.
Yes.
Okay. How about Fang?
Yeah, this is more of a very specific question. In this standard platform, I'm just trying to understand what standard platform, but I guess you're talking about ISIN as a standard platform. I just say that, you know, it maps from token IDs or you know, we're talking about blockchain here, which is entirely, you know, it's technical, decentralized, it's across all these computers. And so the custody side of things, I think, should be quite straightforward. It's almost as if the Ethereum blockchain would do the work for you, right? If we wanted to hold your in our case, your citizenship NFT with us, I guess we can also do that. We would have to figure out our own solution, but in the current solution seems to work quite well. And it's transparent, everyone can see it, it's out there. And the ISIN system could potentially map to that if it were approved on a higher kind of regulatory level.
Yeah, because I think what you're saying is that the technology in of itself, the blockchain, and the fact that you're doing NFTs, it already has a very unique number, right? So
it's a provably unique ID number. It's like your passport, your IC number in Singapore. So I think it's, of course, the responsibility then sits on you. And I don't know how many of your clients would want to hold that responsibility. I think they like the idea of a custody kind of a fund setup, or, you know, something managed by the private banker. And so we have to say, you know, we have to see, we have to figure that out. But I think some spectrum of them will want to hold it themselves and be comfortable with that. And some spectrum will want to rely on the private bank to do it. Yeah,
so they're either going to use a third party like a Hex Trust or OSL or something like this, or they're going to put it into their own cold wallet, or they're going to leave it with you and you have insurance, right?
Yeah.
Something along those lines. Cool. Last question I got from Jasper before our big surprise to the audience, right? So everybody make sure you stay on board so you get it's not over just yet, yeah? So as banks and other financial institutions have such a legacy in traditional products and services, what do you think would be a good strategy in converting the general public or regulated institutions to adopt this latest trend? You want to give it a shot? Is Nick there?
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to read the.
Yeah, it's trying to, how do you convert, or is a conversion question about general public and regulated institutions to adopt this? We're seeing a little bit of that already inside of HSBC issuing NFTs. They've bought land, you know, they're kind of going in this direction. But I mean, how do you get more of this mass adoption, even whether you're talking about individuals or even institutions, right? To go, you know, I don't want to say like all in, because that's gambling and all that stuff, but you know, being a little bit more aggressive in terms of entering the metaverse from an institutional perspective. So
yeah, I think, well, to be very honest, you know, I think well, from what I've seen in terms of, you know, the brand side, artist side, it's, even for brands, it's a lot to do with, you know, just marketing and presence, you know, just being there, you know, entering the space, So I guess in terms of mass, in terms of adoption and converting the general public, I think it's, well, we're also trying to do it. I mean, we're also figuring out, to be very honest, like how can we get them to enter the space, and not just do it for just for marketing purposes. We have a lot of we have a couple of clients, they're in the real estate business. They basically, they're mall operators, and they want to get into this space, but does it make sense? How would that look? So I guess we're also, to be honest with you, we're also trying to figure it out. Yeah.
Gillian and Fang, you guys have any other feedback on that question? How do we get it?
Yeah, my alarm just went off. Sorry for earlier. I think it's a very interesting question that Jasper asked, because I think as we enter Web3, not just banks and institutions, a lot of traditional business, and honestly, everyone needs to change the way that the mentality, and they think that how do they sell to the new generation, and how do you speak to them in a way that they actually want to listen. I think traditional bank and financial institutions are definitely seeing a trend in here, and I'm not sure if there is when I first started, I understand that the mass adoption aspect, and that's why I jumped on it and started digital art there. And I think that there was a lot of things that not going really well in the traditional art world, and with the revolution, I kind of revamping the whole system. It's not that easy. I would say that banking system will be even more difficult in the art industry, but the art industry are full of a lot of very traditional art collectors and very wealthy people and wealthy families. So I was just thinking that to do that, not only you have to overcome this very similar obstacle that I had to overcome in the traditional art world, such as changing the mindset that how things seems to be working, first of all, in your own institutions and the people that want to be receiving your service. And second, to understand the new generation of the cryptocurrency or NFT, what are they really looking for? What are they experiencing? So what Neil was mentioned at HSBC was a really, really great example where actually it's been really amazing in the way that they have been working around the NFT. They also sponsored the K11 NFT art shows. They're very I guess with one of the very forward thinking traditional bank that I have unfortunately to have opportunity to work with. And I think that the change will have to first start from your own institution and changing the mindset and education for your staff to understand that the new banking system might have their flaws, and every system has its flaws and has merits, right? So as every side of the platform, every new business, it has its good points and it has its bad points. And how do we balance that and take the good things into it and not completely bending your whole, I guess, a core value of your business, and just bringing that little bit in there, so to maybe maintain your customer that you already have, and also to reach the new customers. So I say first is to understanding the market, really deep down, get into what's NFT, what's blockchain, and then seeing that if there any sort of strategy you can apply to your, I mean, I won't speak for banking because I am not banking. I'm not that, but I say that's from my experience, and try to kind of remold the art world and traditional art world a little bit, adapting to new thing is not easy. And I think with the financial system is even more difficult, because you have your infrastructure, you have your rules and your financial regulations and all of that in place. But maybe start on the soft side. Maybe start with educational on how experienced bank customers can dive into investing in cryptocurrency, or maybe what's NFT and how do they invest in there? Is there any safer options for you to invest in there? Maybe start from there instead of converting completely into the new DeFi, I guess, the structure. So that's just my little input.
Cool, great. So yeah, really appreciate it. I mean, we kind of went over time. Really appreciate the panel. I mean, I appreciate Gillian and Fang, and also Nick. Great insights inside of each one of your sectors, or inside of each one of your verticals. As I said, we've got like a big surprise So I'm going to hand it back over to Julie. Julie.
Hey, thanks for that. Hey, yeah, well, let's not keep anybody waiting, but actually it's Fang. Do you want to take us into the metaverse?
Boom. If you look to the bottom right of your chat, you see that a link has magically appeared. That link is your gateway to the metaverse. We've built a country club in the metaverse on a platform called Gather. It takes you 2 seconds to kind of enter your name and get set up. We have community managers there waiting for you to usher you into a bigger room where we can continue kind of easy conversations post event. And at the same time, if you'd like to have a look at the space, they can also take you on a private tours of the broader country club. Okay, so maybe I can hang around here in case anyone is having difficulty getting into the club. Otherwise, you know, feel free to click on. Is it okay for me to say that, Neil? Feel free to.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, you just click onto the link. You'll go on there. You may encounter some technical issues because you have to basically release the Zoom call in order to get access for the microphone and all those different things. But yeah, give it a shot, and then you'll find, like Fang said, there's other people on the other side of that'll you can that'll take you
real
around
people
on a little tour
on video,
yeah,
surprising you. And yeah, check it out. If you have technical difficulties, you can still type on the chat on the side and kind of walk around with your video turned off. That's also fine. You know, I'll leave it to you and your comfort level as to how much you want to speak, how much you want to show your face. You don't have to do any of that for sure. You can kind of just keep your video turned off. And yeah, thanks so much, everyone.
We'll see you guys on the other side.
This is wonderful. Thank you. I'm loving this Metaverse.
Gillian, have you used it? It's really fun. Yeah.
It's amazing. I'm on it. I just talked to. I just saw Jessica there.
Yeah,
in
let
the
Jessica.
chat room.
Yeah, let Jessica will help you out a little bit.
That is so cool.
Yeah, fantastic.
This is wonderful. Thank you. Well, thank you guys. Had such a good chat. Have a good day. Enjoy your
Okay,
enjoy the rest of the Metaverse.
Thanks,
See you
everyone.
guys.
Thanks for your
Bye-bye.
time.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
This is fun. So just to introduce everyone to the platform, right now what you're seeing, right, is we have all these small little avatars. I'm the one up top, Fang. Hi again, and this software is spatial. Spatial means that you can see other avatars, other people in the space, and also the volume increases or decreases, as well as the viewability, the video increases and decreases depending on how far away you are from them. You can just give it a shot by walking away or walking closer to other people like Jessica or Alicia. They're here to help you out. I put myself on loudspeaker so you can hear me no matter where you go. It's the orange thing on my name. The club is really big. You guys are currently spawning. That's a word for starting in the lobby area where we have bar games on one side. On the other side, we have television and more social areas.